Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse has reached the point where the hype around the movie is almost as interesting as the movie itself. After Across completely changed the direction of Miles Morales' story and ended on one of the biggest cliffhangers in recent superhero animation, fans were left waiting for answers. Miles was trapped in the wrong universe. Gwen was trying to build a team to save him. Miguel and Spider Society were falling apart, and the Spot had gone from a joke character into a threat that could potentially destroy everything. For a while, it honestly felt like Beyond the Spider-Verse might become one of those projects that fans would talk about forever without knowing when they would actually see it. The movie went through delays, Sony stayed quiet, and there was a lot of uncertainty about when the final chapter of this trilogy would finally arrive. But now the silence is finally over because Sony has started showing real footage, and based on everything revealed so far, this final movie looks like it could be the biggest and most emotional Spider-Man story this franchise has ever attempted. The biggest thing to understand is that Beyond the Spider-Verse isn't being presented as just another adventure. This is the ending of Miles Morales' entire journey. The filmmakers have described it as the final chapter of Miles' arc, and that actually makes a lot of sense when you look at the trilogy as a whole. The first movie was about Miles discovering that he could become Spider-Man. The second movie was about him rejecting the idea that his destiny was already written for him. And now the final movie seems to be about Miles proving that he has the right to decide his own future. The first footage shown reportedly continues immediately after the ending of Across. Miles is still stuck on Earth 42, the universe where everything went completely differently. This is the world where Miles never became Spider-Man because the spider that was supposed to bite him ended up in another dimension. Instead of becoming a hero, this version of Miles became the Prowler. And that creates one of the most interesting conflicts in the entire story, because Miles isn't just fighting another villain, he's fighting a version of himself. When the movie begins, Miles is captured and being held by the Earth 42 version of Uncle Aaron. But unlike the Aaron Davis we knew from Miles' original universe, this one never had a chance to change. He stayed in the criminal world and became exactly the person that the original Aaron was trying to avoid becoming before his death. Then Earth 42 Miles appears, and the confrontation between them is basically the perfect representation of everything Spider-Verse has been building toward. Miguel believes Spider people are defined by tragedy. According to his theory, every Spider-Man has to lose something important because those events are what create the hero. But Miles has been fighting against that idea from the beginning. Earth 42 Miles is proof that the person matters more than the powers. The original Miles became Spider-Man because he had people around him who pushed him toward being better. He had his family, his friends, Peter, and eventually an entire Spider-Verse supporting him. But this other Miles grew up without that. The footage reportedly shows the two versions of Miles fighting, with our Miles using his electric venom abilities to escape and defend himself. But the important part is not the action itself, it's what the fight represents. Miles is literally fighting the person he could have become if his life had gone in another direction. That's why the Prowler version of Miles could end up being one of the most important characters in the movie. He doesn't just exist to be an obstacle. He represents the question the whole trilogy has been asking. What if Miles had never believed in himself? And the movie seems like it will explore that idea even more through the past of Jefferson and Aaron Davis. One of the most interesting details from the footage was reportedly a flashback showing younger versions of Jefferson and Aaron together before they went down completely different paths. The Spider-Verse movies have always hinted at their complicated relationship, but never fully explored how two brothers from the same family could become such different people. In Miles' universe, Jefferson rejected crime and became a police officer. Aaron stayed involved in the criminal world and eventually became the Prowler working for Kingpin. The theory here is that Beyond the Spider-Verse might use their story as another reflection of Miles and Earth 42 Miles. The movie could be showing that a single choice can completely change a person's life. And that matters because Jefferson's fate is basically the ticking clock of the entire movie. The Spot has already made it clear that he plans to kill Miles' father. The entire conflict is built around Miles trying to stop that from happening, even though Miguel's entire philosophy says that some tragedies are unavoidable. That's what makes the final movie so interesting. Miles isn't just trying to save one person, he's trying to prove that the rules of the Spider-Verse can be broken. Of course, none of this would matter without the villain at the center of the story, and the Spot has become one of the biggest surprises of the entire franchise. When he first appeared in Across, he looked like a complete joke. He was the kind of villain villain that other superhero movies would probably use for 5 minutes before moving on. Even Miles didn't take him seriously, but that was exactly the point. The movie slowly showed that the Spot wasn't weak, he was just underestimated. Every time he absorbed more dimensional energy, he became more powerful and more dangerous. By the end of the movie, he wasn't a random enemy anymore. He was someone who could threaten the entire multiverse. Jason Schwartzman's performance as the Spot worked because the character's motivation was surprisingly human. He wasn't just chasing power. He wanted Miles to acknowledge him. He wanted the person who ignored him to finally understand what he had become. And that makes him a perfect opposite to Miles. Miles became a hero because he learned his own value. The Spot became a monster because he couldn't handle feeling invisible. The footage reportedly showed that Beyond the Spider-Verse is fully embracing the Spot as a serious threat, and that's probably the right decision. The best villains in superhero stories are usually not the ones who are evil just because they are evil. They're characters who have a twisted version of a relatable goal. The movie also appears to be bringing back Kingpin, which opens another interesting possibility. Wilson Fisk was the person who started the entire Spider-Verse crisis in the first movie when he activated the Collider and damaged reality. If he returns, it raises the question of whether he and the Spot could somehow be connected. Kingpin has always been someone who tries to control powerful forces. The Spot's abilities are exactly the kind of thing a character like Fisk would want to use. At the same time, the Spot has grown far beyond anything Kingpin could control. A partnership between them would be dangerous, but so would a situation where they are fighting each other for control. And then there is Miguel, probably the most complicated character in the entire trilogy. A lot of fans see Miguel as the villain after Across the Spider-Verse, but that's not really what the movies are doing with him. Miguel is wrong in many ways, but he isn't a monster. He genuinely believes he is protecting countless universes. The problem is that he became obsessed with that belief. He created the Spider Society because he thought someone needed to make the hard decisions. He accepted sacrifices because he believed the alternative would be worse, but Miles challenges that entire worldview. The new footage reportedly shows Miguel with a different suit, a darker black and white design that fans actually noticed was teased in the background of Across the Spider-Verse. This new look fits his character perfectly because it reflects where his mind is now. Miguel isn't the same Spider-Man we met before. He lost control, lost trust from his own team, and now he has to face the possibility that the person he was trying to stop might have been right. The emotional side of the movie also comes from the returning Spider characters. Gwen Stacy is back, and after the second movie, she might actually be one of the most important heroes in the story. Her entire arc has been about hiding her feelings and pushing people away because she believes getting close to others only causes pain. Miles changed that. After leaving Miguel's Spider Society, Gwen becomes the person who is trying to save him. She's building a team of spider people who believe that Miles deserves a choice. That includes Peter, who has completely transformed since the first movie. He started as a broken Spider-Man who had lost his purpose, but now he's a father trying to protect his daughter while still being a hero. Spider-Punk is also returning, and fans were immediately excited because Hobie was one of the biggest breakout characters from Across. He rejected Miguel's system from the start and understood that the Spider Society was built on control. His attitude makes him one of Miles' strongest supporters because he represents everything the movie is saying. Don't blindly accept the role someone else gives you. The same goes for Spider-Ham and Spider-Noir, who are officially returning. Spider-Ham barely appeared in the second movie, so seeing him back is a big deal because his ridiculous cartoon energy was part of what made the first film special. Spider-Noir's return is also interesting because Nicolas Cage is becoming even more connected to the character with his live-action series. Bringing him back now feels like perfect timing because audiences are getting more of that version of Spider-Man right before Beyond arrives, and that might be exactly what Sony wants. The Spider-Verse has become bigger than just movies now. It's turning into a larger Spider-Man universe across different styles and versions. Everything we know so far suggests Beyond the Spider-Verse is trying to end the trilogy the right way, not by simply having Miles defeat the biggest villain, but by forcing him to answer the biggest question of all.